All right, nurses, I'm so excited for this masterclass. A couple housekeeping things. Definitely you can take notes. I have written it all out on the flip chart. So if you have any difficulties reading anything, please let me know. I have copies and I can send them to you if that makes your life easier than trying to see the tiny little print. So that being said, I'm going to jump right in. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand during the masterclass, or I will have a question and answer period at the end. And you are always welcome to send me a message if you are watching the replay for this. So basically going to start with a little bit about me. My name is Shanna Holterman. I am a registered nurse and a life coach. So my coaching side of practice, I help nurses either love their current job or leave it and find a career that makes them feel totally badass. And I absolutely love what I do. My background, nursing wise, I have worked in the CVICU for, I was about almost 5 years. So I love that side of nursing, but everybody always wants to know, how did I get to where I am? How did I make this decision? So to start with, I started nursing in a med-surg float pool, which basically means I was getting thrown everywhere because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Nursing was something I kind of like fell into. I like the healthcare side. I like the science side of things. I like to help people. I wanted to make an impact, and nursing kind of fit those boxes. So I went into nursing. Very quickly, though, being in a float pool, did I feel just like completely emotionally drained, exhausted, not really sure what I got myself into and if it was what I wanted to do for the long term. So I started kind of looking into things, talking to my manager. I ended up switching into the critical care float pool because I thought critical care seems a little bit more, aligned with what I wanted to do. Did that for a while. I liked it better than med-surg, but it was not still, there's something still missing in, so I did all of the things. I got my nutrition on point. I hired a personal trainer. I got super fit. I was doing health and nutrition programs, like doing all these groups. And the things that were kind of sticking out to me were the mindset stuff. So the concept of life coaching kept coming up. And at that time, I was like, what the hell is a life coach? And so I literally Googled it, reached out to a life coach that was in my area. This was pre-COVID days where you went in person to life coaching. And so I started working with her and immediately started to see the shifts in my life where I was actually figuring out who I was, what I wanted to do with my career, with the power that I had. And I think that process of my first life coach really did help me build my confidence, build my self-belief in myself that I could really make an impact. And so that is kind of how I started into that. After almost a year of working with her, I was like, I think this is the path that I want to go to. So I had so many nurses, telling me, oh, you're so smart. You're so good at what you do. You should become a nurse practitioner. You should go back to school, get your master's, all these things. And none of those felt right. But when I thought about the coaching side of things, that felt right to me. So I went and got my coaching certification and started coaching nurses in burnout. That shifted a bit into coaching nurses who wanted to step away from the bedside, build businesses, kind of like I had. And then that did another shift a little over 6 months ago, where I kind of got to do the best of both worlds. Because when I was helping nurses build businesses, I was still missing that part. And being able to help the nurse who knows they want to make a bigger impact, knows they want something more for themselves, and helping them kind of figure out that path, because that was the path that I had struggled with, was where I ended up, and where I am absolutely loving my business. So that is me in a nutshell, how I went through nursing and got myself to here. So that being said, what are nurses coming to me and saying? So this is kind of what I wanted to start with is, who are the nurses who are reaching out for help, who are telling me I'm hearing the same things over and over again? So I do workshops at hospitals, I coach one-on-one. And so it's either nurses I hear at the workshops in the hospitals, nurses I hear in the hospital, or the nurses who are reaching out for one-on-ones. There is so much similarities in what nurses are going through these days. And so I really kind of wanted to start with that base of where a lot of people are starting this journey. So you can say, okay, this is kind of where I'm at. I'm feeling that, I'm resonating, and know if this is the right masterclass for you, if this is the right path. And like, this is kind of that starting point of your journey, of your like initiation into figuring out who the hell you are and what you want for yourself. And it is a beautiful point, but a lot of nurses are kind of feeling stuck, trapped. They know that they want more, but they're not really sure what that looks like for them specifically. So what I hear frequently, and this is kind of quotations from nurses that have told me this, is I feel like I have no control and I'm just wasting time, like wasting their career, wasting time, going through the motions and feeling like they're not making a difference and they don't really have a control over their situation. I feel like I've been holding back and settling for far too long. I hear a lot of nurses kind of in this state of like, it basically, the next one is like, I feel like I'm in this perpetual transition phase. And I feel like this was me too, where it was like, I was finished school, I was doing my job, couple years in, and it's like, I feel like there should be, another step, another thing that I should be doing, but I didn't know what that was. And this is the same with a lot of nurses coming to me. And this is when people start telling them what they should do. And we're going to talk about that next. So people depend on me. I wish I knew how to help, but on my own terms. Because when you're helping people from this state of like almost people pleasing, where you're doing what you think they want and you do what they think is their best for them, what happens is we get burnt out because we're depleting ourselves. So being able to help on your own terms is so vital. My job is fine. There's no real issues, but it's just not fulfilling. And I think that happens a lot as I hear nurses and they're just like, well, there's things that I like about my current job, but I feel like there's so much more possible for me. So I just don't know where to start. And that's really where nurses are coming to me. And if this is where you are at right now, then you are in the right spot, because we're going to go over this process. I'm basically teaching you my 3-step process of how you figure out whether you want to love your current job and stay where you are and just make it what you want it to be, or leave it and switch into a job, a career option that makes you feel badass. At the end of the day, I want you to embrace your badassery. So what do all these nurses have in common? And this is the thing, is we have so many, you can see so many nurses, and I bet you can all think of nurses who are in this state of perpetual burnout, who are just like negative Nancy's, who don't want to be there, who don't like what their experience, and they're stuck in some of these thoughts where they hate what they are, they don't like it, they're grumpy, they're miserable. But the difference about those nurses and you, and knowing, and I can see this in nurses, to know whether you are going to make the difference, is this desire and willingness to change. So if you don't have a desire and willingness to change your current situation, this is probably not the masterclass for you. And coaching probably isn't something that would work for you because you're not willing to change. So once you have that desire and willingness to change, that's probably why you're here. It's probably why you're exploring different options. You're trying to see what's out there and what you can do and what the possibilities are for you. So once you have that desire and willingness to change, the thing that makes the difference, the thing I can tell you, is if you show up and do this, then you're going to succeed, is the willingness to do the work, willingness to be open, willingness to show up and explore yourself and figure out, who you are, what you want, and being willing to do that work and be vulnerable and explore yourself. That is how I know that you can succeed. If you show up to this and you are telling me these things with this openness and willingness to do the work to change, I can basically guarantee that you are going to be successful in that. So those nurses who are coming saying those things, they're ambitious nurses. They are motivated nurses. They want something better for themselves. They want to make that impact. So why haven't they figured it out? Why haven't they done it already? And a lot of the nurses that I work with have already taken some actions. Maybe they've changed jobs. Maybe they went back to school. Maybe they did a certification. They've taken some action towards what they think will make them feel better. But the thing is that those things aren't necessarily making them feel better, which is probably why you're here now, because it isn't necessarily giving you the results that you want. So why are these ambitious nurses stuck? My first thing that I work on with my clients, other than energy creation, I call it resiliency reserves, is helping them create more energy. Other than that, the first thing that I work on with my clients is the rule book of shoulds. Now, this is basically a concept that I created, the title at least I created, of you figuring out what you have been told your whole life. This is you figuring out all of the shoulds that you've been told your whole life by your parents, your grandparents, your friends, your family, your teachers, all of the nurses who you work with, all of those people who are repeating things and telling you things over and over again. Just like when I was unsure of what I wanted to do, when nurses were like, oh, you're so smart, you should become a nurse practitioner. Oh, you're so smart, you should get your master's degree. Oh, you're so smart, you should go do this. I heard that so many times and it confused the hell out of me because I was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. But I'm very grateful that I was insightful enough to be like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know that's not it. I mean, I went as far as, applying, like looking at things and stuff like that, but I knew that there was something missing. I knew that there was something that I wanted, but it wasn't necessarily that. So I really want to just kind of help my clients see that there's a lot of shoulds in our life that we have, and these are belief systems that are not our own. And because they are not our own belief systems, they hold us back from actually figuring out who we are. And that's the thing. It's very important for us to explore these and to basically go through all of them so that we can start unraveling them and actually figuring out what you want for yourself. So the rule book of shoulds is really an exercise that takes some time because they don't always come up right away in our brains, where you're basically going to figure out, and you can use these phrases, like get out a piece of paper and write like a good person should, and see what comes up for you. And I found this for myself, and I find a lot of my clients have the same experience where they literally have somebody else's voice saying these things because they've heard it so many times from, a parent, teacher, grandparent, whatever. They hear it so many times that it literally is in their brain in somebody else's voice. 100%, this is a rule book of shoulds because it's the rule book that we have basically mandated that we live by. But the problem is, as I said, it's not our authentic rules. And I don't think we should be necessarily be living by these rules because they're not for us. They were for somebody else. They were for somebody else's life plan. And great meaning people give you their advice that they wish they had done in their lives. Not your life, their lives. So a good person should, a good nurse should. To make more money, I should, or you should. You should get such and such. You should go do such and such. You should become a such and such. Oh, you should apply for this leadership role. You should go up to this thing. You should do this. A good person does, a good nurse does. You can go on and on and on. If there is a should in it, it probably does not belong to you. And this process takes time because you can sit down and now like brain dump all of these shoulds, but then you're going to be going about doing your life. You're going to go to work and you're going to talk to somebody, and then you're going to notice another should that pops up. Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? And that's Charles Bukowski who said that. I absolutely love this quote, and it basically encompasses what this first step of my coaching process is. Who were you before the world told you who you should be? When you can actually figure that out, and this is what I work with my clients with, when you figure out this, it becomes so much more clear what your career options are and what you want to do for yourself, what you want, how you want to help people, how you want to impact your world. It becomes so much more clear because you realize who you are, what you want for yourself, and you can start to make decisions and move forward from that place. So I highly recommend that you take some time to figure this out, figure out this process of what it is, who you are underneath all of that. So I'm just going to write down. So the coaching process, step number 1 is recognize who you are. Is the first step of the coaching process, is figuring out who you are. Who are you before the world told you who to be? This is vital for you figuring out what career path that you want. So absolutely, you can make career shifts, moves from anywhere to anywhere, but to figure out a career that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like a badass, that you can confidently show up, you need to know who you are. Okay. So once you figure out who you are, once we have that baseline, it becomes so much easier. But then there still comes, I see this a lot in my clients where they're like, okay, I know who I am now. I'm, often still trying to figure out the specifics of that, but I know, as a basic rule, who I am. But how am I going to know if it's the right job? How am I going to know when I found that job that I want to do? You're going to know when you found the job that you're going to do by figuring out, this is the process where we figure out whether you're going to love it or you're going to leave it. So what do we look at? Basically, you're going to figure out what you want to do by looking at 2 different sides to things. This is the side of loving it versus leaving it. So to start with, you need to find out what things you're noticing, what things you're looking for now. But I want to teach you a quick concept of how our brains work. And this is how a nurse can go from being drained, exhausted, feeling kind of stuck, to actually end up choosing to stay in that job, but feeling empowered, feeling confident, feeling like they've made the right decision, that they're making an impact. This is how that happens. Because a lot of people are like, I don't know how people could stay here. And then what they end up doing is they end up liking their job, because we look through the job has, we're going to go through the qualities of the things that they want for themselves. But this is how we actually train your brain to like something that is right for you. So we can train our brains all day long. And this is a lot of the work that I do with my clients, is training your brain. But if that job doesn't have the qualities and the things that you like, it's not in an environment, it's not with people that you like, then it's probably not the right decision for you. But that being said, we can train our brains to pretty much do anything that we want. So to go over this concept, it's called observation bias. Now, this is a psychology principle of your brain looks for things to always prove itself right. So basically, can you think of a day where you woke up and you had, I don't know, you stubbed your toe or you spilled your coffee, you woke up late, you hit snooze, you feel tired, drained, and you're like, this is going to be a absolute shit day. And then what happens? You say, okay, it's going to be an absolute shit day, and your brain goes about proving that thought right for the rest of the day. You find every little piece of evidence to prove why that's right. You get in your car, I know you're out of gas. Okay, I got to go to the gas station. You get to work, you slip, and spill your coffee, or you run into somebody you don't like, or you like all of these things that might have been kind of like neutral meh situations before. Now your brain is like, see, I told you so, I told you so. Your brain loves to prove itself right. So to actually show you how this concept works, I have this lovely little exercise. So basically I'm going to hold this lovely piece of paper here, and I want you to tell me how many blue dots are on this piece of paper. Blue dots. All right. How many blue dots are on this piece of paper? Yep. 3. Nope. 4. It was 4 blue dots, right? 4 blue dots. Okay. So there's 4 blue dots on this piece of paper. How many purple dots were there? Right? So your brain was so focused on what I told it to focus on. I told it to focus on the blue dots. And so your brain became hyper-focused on those blue dots, and it totally disregarded everything else that it was interpreting. How about now? Can you remember how many red dots were on that piece of paper? Probably not, because your brain was so focused on those blue dots. And this is how your brain goes about all of your life. So with coaching, I teach my clients how to reprogram their brain to look for opportunities, to look for evidence to believe in what they want. So they can look for evidence that they're making an impact. They can look for evidence to feel that, to reinforce their confidence, their security, to know that they're doing a good job, that this is the right job for them, that they're making an impact, that so they can feel better and go home and still have energy to live their life. So this is basically where we go in psychology to actually retrain your brain to find that evidence for what you want for yourselves. And it's a really beautiful thing. But then again, this is what, because I always mention this. So this is the love it. So if you're choosing to love it, we go through this concept we're going to go talk about next. And then we basically train your brain to look for all the evidence to reinforce how this is exactly where you want to be. But if that job is burning you out in a way because the environment is super negative, you don't have leadership or teammates who are people that you want to spend time with, because they're those negative Nellies who don't want to get out of it, who are stuck in that like trauma bonding where people are bonding together with how shitty it is and they don't necessarily want to get out of that. If you're in an environment like that, why would you want to train your brain to enjoy it? That's my question for you. So if you're in an environment where you feel that you're supported, you feel that you have opportunities to grow in ways that you want to, that you can make an impact and you are helping in a way that feels good for you, then, okay, let's train your brain how to really thrive in that environment. And that's kind of like the caveat is you can train your brain pretty much to thrive in any situation, but not necessarily all situations you want to do that. So how do we figure out if it's that situation that you want to train your brain to thrive or not thrive? So basically, then it comes down to what qualities do you want? So we figured out who you are. We figured out what you want for yourself. Then it comes down to what things are you looking for in a job? What do you need in order to thrive? What kind of people do you need to be surrounded by? What environments do you want to work in? Maybe you don't love your current bedside role, but you had a job in high school where you were scanning documents in an office setting and you were like, I really liked that. I like that energy. I like that office setting. So maybe something like that will be better for you. This can also take time, and it's going like even just going into your current job and looking throughout your day and doing little check-ins and being like, okay, so what things do I really like to do? Maybe I really like doing patient education. Maybe I really like doing wound dressings. Maybe I really like, doing X, Y, Z. It's getting curious about the qualities that certain jobs have. What do you need in order to thrive in that job? And this is really important because I see so many nurses who come to me and they're like, oh, I've applied for these different jobs, or I've done job hopping. I've looked and I've been to these different jobs. I travel nurse. I went to all these different kinds of units and they didn't have what I didn't like it. I didn't like this and that. But if you're not sitting down and figuring out what it takes for you to thrive in an environment, it's going to be really hard to figure out what you actually want. This is basically an analogy that I love to use. So imagine you're basically going into Target with zero plan, no shopping list, no idea what you want. You're like, I want to buy something. But you're a really picky person, but you're like, I want to buy something. So you're literally meandering the aisles of Target, looking around, and you're like, that's too blue. Oh, that's too big. Man, I don't know really, I don't know what that would help me for. And you're just looking around and you have no idea what you want. It's very complicated to buy one thing when you don't really know what you want. Or you can go into Target and be like, okay, I need something that's going to help me clean my house. It's going to need something that's going to help me wash my tile floors. So you can then go into Target, you can go to the cleaning section and you can start, looking at things, or you can look at reviews online. You can do whatever you want to do to help you figure out what's the right mop for you. Do you see how different that is? Basically, what I see so many nurses doing is going into Target, wanting to buy a new job and having zero plan, and then wondering why things aren't jumping out at them the way that they feel like they should. They're like, I feel like it should be that love at first sight. But the thing is that there's so many nursing jobs out there, and especially when you get into the side of like medical equipment and remote nursing jobs, which there are tons of, they don't always say registered nurse, or the job title does not necessarily give you a good indication of what that job is going to be in leadership roles, in different roles like that aren't the stereotypical bedside job. Even some of the stereotypical bedside jobs will say shit like quality assurance, and you're like, what? And that's like a float pool position, and you're like, yeah. So when you don't know what you're looking for because you don't understand yourself, you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want in a job, it becomes very difficult, which is why I tell my nurses to literally find the qualities, figure out what you need to thrive, what kind of environment you need, what kind of ways you are helping, what are you really good at and enjoy doing. So something that you can make an impact in your world. When you look at those, you write down these like job qualities, then you can start looking for positions that align with those job qualities. You can start doing interviews and start asking managers if their environment will help you thrive or not. But you literally have that specific shopping list of things that you want to do. And not every job is going to check every box, but if you're checking majority of those boxes, then we can go back to that observation bias and help train your brain to thrive with the rest of those things. So once you have an understanding of how your brain works, how we train it to thrive in an environment that you choose, once you have an idea of the qualities of a job that you want so that you can thrive, paired with understanding who you are, this creates clarity. It becomes so much easier for you to thrive. So the coaching concept 2 is acknowledging your strengths, acknowledging what you are good at, acknowledging what you need, acknowledging who you are. Recognizing who you are is process number 1. Step number 2, coaching process step number 2, is that acknowledging your strengths, acknowledging the power that you have to thrive in an environment, acknowledging the things that you want and need is acknowledging your strengths. Okay. Stay hydrated. So very important for your brain health. Nurses, looking at you and your refusal to hydrate. All right. So next up, the third process in helping you thrive. All right. Let's all lined up properly. Okay. It's so very important. How do you make decisions? Are you a decisive person? A lot of people aren't. And that's okay. But in order to move forward in a timely manner that most people want, because you can do this the slow way. Absolutely, you can do this the slow way. But if you are an ambitious person like me, you want things to move faster and faster. And that is normal. But in order to expedite this process, you need to be making decisions that move you forward on a continuous basis. And this is the little things and this is the big things. So you need to start with the little things because, excuse me, decisiveness is a learned skill. It does not, yes, some people are just naturally super decisive, but most people aren't. So it is a learned skill, and you're going to start doing it with the little things, with where you want to go out to dinner, which shirt you want to buy, what thing you're going to choose, whatever it may be. Practice being decisive. Now, all of these things that we are talking about, we're talking about in relation to your nursing career, but they can be applied to all areas of your life because the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So if you take those skills and you apply it to all areas of your life, you become such a more decisive person, which means you can build your confidence and your self-belief, your self-concept to help you grow. So when you know who you are, what you want, those combine to make you more decisive. Because if you already know who you are, what you want, you can make decisions so much more quickly. Do I like this kind of thing? Do I want to be in a position that makes me work nights? Do I want to be in a position that makes me do this task that I don't like to do? Do I want to be in a position where there's no room for growth and I really want growth? Do I want to be in a position that compromises my family time? All of these things are decisions become quicker and quicker and quicker. Even if it's like, do I want Indian or Thai food for dinner tonight? You're like, well, you know what? I want Indian food or I want Thai food, because you become so much more in tune with who you are. And this is a beautiful thing as I watch with my clients, because I work with my clients for 6 months. And as that time progresses, the amount of just self-knowing that I see in my clients for everything. So yes, they're getting this growth in their career, but it's also all those little life decisions where they're like, I know exactly who I am, what I want, and I can move forward so much more quickly, which means I spend less time wasting on figuring out what I want because I already know. So figuring out who you are, what you want, allows for you to grow so much more quickly when you are a decisive person. So this small decisions, constantly making small decisions, and that's on the day-to-day basis, choosing how you show up, choosing, if this is that version of me taking on different, leadership roles or signing up for certain volunteer things, and you get to choose what that version of you, that best version of you, that version of you who knows who they are, who is fulfilled, who's doing a job that they love, who's helping in ways that they love. You get to show how that version of you shows up and then keep making decisions from that place. So those small decisions, they compound. They keep adding up. And soon enough, you look back and you don't even recognize how far you come because all of those small decisions compound. So ask yourself for everything. just to build this decision-making muscle, because decision-making is a learned skill. It's a learned skill. Just like you have to go to the gym to build those biceps, it is a learned skill on how to decision make. So ask yourself, does this align with who I am and what I want for myself? Does this help me move me closer to what I want? Yes or no? If it's a yes, then decision made. If it's a no, no. Moving on. So this is the third step, is making decisions. And yes, absolutely, this is the stage where my clients are making the decisions to stay in their current job or leave it and create a career or pick a career that makes them feel good, makes them feel like a badass. So it's not always that simple, because once you make a decision, that you make this big ass decision on what way you're going to go with your career, but then there's all these other little decisions that have to be made, all of these different things. And if you choose to love your career, wow, but there's things in your current job that you don't love the way that are going. So it takes making decisions on how you're going to handle situations on a constant, ongoing basis. So practice making decisions in your personal life, and this is going to help you so much in your career. So the coaching process, step number 3 is be decisive. And that is so vital. Like, I can't tell you how important for your success being a decisive person is. And it's a learned skill. It's a learned skill before, because I know you're all like, but I never know what I'm going to eat for dinner. It's okay. It's okay. You can learn, because all my clients do. All right. I'm going to lean this close, and then we'll back it up in a minute when we get down to the bottom of it. So at this point, you know your 3 processes of my coaching process, 3 steps. It is simple. They are simple steps, but because we are human and we have a human brain, it does not mean it's easy. So the biggest hurdles, the biggest roadblocks that I'm seeing nurses face with these career changing moves is indecision. All right. We literally just talked. Step 3 is be decisive. So I see this coming up a lot. So we have indecision. This is like the cycle of stuck. I didn't write that down. I should write that down. This is the cycle of stuck. You have indecision, lack of clarity, overwhelm. And this basically just cycles back and forth and keeps you stuck. So when you're stuck in this indecision, going into the lack of clarity, this is when I keep hearing nurses say, I don't know. If you're catching yourself saying, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to eat. I don't know what career I want. I don't know if I want to go to school. I don't know if basically get the idea. So if you are stuck in this perpetual, I don't know, it is the fastest way for your brain to shut down any evolution or growth. There's a reason that you get stuck in this cycle. And we're going to talk about it on the second half of this slide. We're going to talk about why that happens. But basically this indecision and this lack of clarity combine to that, I don't know. So then you have the lack of clarity and this whole overwhelm. I've got too many things going on in my head. There's so much going on. It's too complicated. It's too complicated to change what you're doing. It's too complicated to figure out. Like, I've already applied for things. I've done interviews, but it's just so complicated. This is because your brain doesn't understand what it wants. And now it's overwhelmed because there's so many inputs. There's so many shoulds that are happening that are preventing you from doing that. And then when we get in this overwhelm, so your brain is like, there's just so much going on. There's so much. And I literally see people like, there's so much going on. And then it's paired with this indecision of like, I can't make a decision for the life of me. So I'm just going to stay. I'm just going to not choose to decide. I'm going to choose not to decide. And that is a choice. It is a choice to not decide. That is choosing to stay in indecision. So you choose not to decide. And then what your brain is going to tell you is, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough XYZ. I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough of a GPA to go back to school. I don't have. It's not enough. This is what I hear and I see nurses get stuck. So even after they start the coaching process, this is kind of where their brain keeps coming back to. And there is a reason why your brain goes in this cycle. It is 100% caused by the fear of the unknown. So another little psychology lesson is your primitive brain, your lower brain, your brain's number one job is to keep you safe. So your brain is designed to protect you at all costs. And it's going to use things that have worked in the past for you. And it's going to use these thoughts that keep coming up, these roadblocks that keep coming up in your life. And if you notice there's a pattern every time you decide you're going to do something different, the same kind of thing happens over and over again, or something comes up and causes this, the wheels to fall off the wagon. Because our brains actually, remember when we found evidence, we looked for what we wanted. Your brain is trained to keep you safe. So the same kind of things, the same kind of thoughts are going to come up. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't know what I want to do. It's too complicated. There's too much going on in my life. I'm too busy right now. Those same thoughts are going to come up because of this fear of the unknown. So when you're in this state of choosing whether you're going to love your job, you're going to leave it and move on, you are in this state of evolution. You're in this state where you're at that, point of initiation, and you get to choose which direction you're going to go. But your brain is actually freaking out underneath because you're going into something new. Your brain doesn't know how to protect you in a new and unknown environment. The problem is our brains were designed, like when we were cavemen, and our literal risks of going out into the unknown would be like a lion, tiger, or bear coming and eating you. Our brains still act as if. This is so important for you to be aware of, so you can catch yourself when you're swirling in this cycle and be like, okay, brain, I see what you're doing there. I see you coming up with these, I don't want to say excuses, but literally they are excuses that our brain creates to keep us safe. I see you doing this. I understand you're trying to keep me safe, but I'm going to choose to move on anyway. I'm going to choose to continue on the path that is best for me, best for my growth, so that I can live a life that I feel freaking fantastic. So I want you to be aware of, because this is what I see happening in nurses' brains, and they are stuck in this spiral and not moving forward because their brain is telling them all of these things, and they feel so true and like such good reasons not to. But if you are ready to step into the life where you feel fulfilled, where you are making an impact, where you are doing what you want to do and actually enjoying and loving your life, you need to move beyond this cycle. And part of what's going to help you move beyond that cycle is clarity. You can break this cycle by reminding yourself why it's important, who you are, what you want for yourself, and making those decisions. Back to those decisions. This is why step 1, 2, and 3 keep coming up. So if you know who you are, you recognize your strengths, know what you want for yourself, and making decisions, you're going to help train your brain past this cycle. So you can move past it, and it's going to keep coming up. And then you're going to be like, oh, brain, I see that. But here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing, brain. Buckle up. We're going for a ride. So then once we're in this stage, what happens in coaching? So what happens with our brains when we're stepping into the fear of the unknown, there's 2 kind of pathways our brain is going to go to. And this is really important for you to recognize and understand. The first pathway that comes up when we step into this unknown, we step into that fear of the unknown happens, is our brain shuts down. We go into that fight, flight, freeze mode. So your brain literally your nervous system completely shuts down. It cannot comprehend. And this is probably when you're starting out, and it depends if you're a person who really has a lot of anxiety to begin with, this is not a problem. It's not going to prevent you from loving it or leaving it with your nursing career, but it's important to recognize these things so that we can, because you're going to respond differently. And especially in our coaching practices, like when we do coaching sessions, it's going to show up differently, and we're going to do different things when your brain is in this fight, flight, or freeze. We can't continue to progress forward when your brain feels that it is unsafe. When your brain is in this mode, it feels that it's unsafe. So what do we need to do? We need to calm the nervous system. We need to bring you back into your body, calm the nervous system, reinforce to your brain, your nervous system, that you are safe. And then we can shift on into the thoughts. So just a really quick, there is many tools that I love to use with my clients, because each of us are individual and each of us kind of rock different ways of doing things. But a quick, easy one that you can even do at work is calming your nervous system. We're going to basically activate your vagus nerve. Take your one arm and you're going to squeeze your other hand nice and tight. And you're just going to take a couple of breaths. I like to do breath counting with it. So you're going to squeeze nice and tight. You can hold it in your lap. And you're basically going to inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can continue that. There's many other tools that we can use, but I really enjoy that because it's something you can do and it's not that weird. You could do it in public, as you can squeeze your wrist, and breathing in and exhaling for double the amount of time activates your parasympathetic nervous system and can pretty quickly, within those 3 breaths, just kind of calm down your nervous system. So this is a tool that I use with my clients, along with many others, kind of figuring out what works best for you. So that's a tool that you can utilize when you are in that, like, oh shit, I don't know what to do, or like, I want to run, I want to avoid, I'm just kind of frozen, depending on if you are in any of those, we call it sympathetic nervous system response, that fight, fright, flight, or freeze. What you need to do is you need to calm the nervous system down. The alternative, and once your nervous system is calm, then we can go into the, actually critically thinking, making decisions, and moving yourself forward, evolving yourself. So your brain might go to this stage. Everybody's brains do it at least every once in a while. If you're somebody who has a lot of anxiety, it's more likely your brain will go to this response. That's totally okay. Just gives you, we got to find the tools that work for you to get out of it so that you can then start making decisions, moving yourself forward. So the alternative is all these thoughts. And that's kind of this cycle we talked about, is all these thoughts that keep coming up for us. On your brain giving all kinds of reasons and stuff. So this is actually where we do thought work, what I call thought work, which is how a kind of a cognitive behavioral approach, where we're actually rewiring your brain. We are training your brain to find evidence for what we want for ourselves. So the thoughts happen, and we then can rewire those thoughts, rework those thoughts, improve your self-belief and self-concept. So your brain has been telling you all those shoulds, right? Those beliefs aren't yours. So we get to explore that. Sometimes it just takes calling them out to let them go. Other times it takes some more because they've been deeply ingrained. So we do just thought models and stuff to help you rewire your brain to go for those thoughts that aren't serving you, to shift them into thoughts that are serving you, so that we can build that strong self-concept, that strong self-belief, so you know who you are, what you want for yourself, and continue to evolve into that person who, can create the career that makes them feel totally badass. And I just love this thought, because even if you're not sure, even if you're stuck in a cycle, you're going around and around and around, I love this thought. No matter what, I am capable of figuring it out. No matter what, I'm capable of figuring it out. It doesn't matter that I don't know right now. I am capable of figuring it out. And this thought has served me so incredibly well. And it is a heavily practiced thought in my brain, because it kind of just defeats, like, okay, I'm going around and around, and you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I'm not sure. It doesn't matter that I don't feel like I have enough time or it's too complicated, because I'm going to figure it out. No, I'm capable of figuring this out. I absolutely am capable of figuring this out. And that is a beautiful place to evolve and be. So, lastly, how do we know if this process is going to work for you? And I talked about this in the beginning, and I want to kind of bring it back up again, because it's really important to recognize where you are at in your journey. Are you a person who is ready to start taking action on this? Or maybe you're not ready to start taking action. Maybe you're the person who needs to like think about it for a while and toy in the brain juices. That's totally okay. But I want you to start becoming more self-aware. And that's really what this work is about, is recognizing who you are, acknowledging your strengths, and being decisive. It is about you starting on this journey to figure out what works for you. You are unique. And if you take away nothing else, I want you to take away that your journey is not somebody else's journey. And just because somebody says you should do such X, Y, and Z if you want to be successful or you want to have a great nursing career, it is not necessarily the path for you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with their path, but you get to decide what your path looks like. You get to decide how you are going to shape your career, how you are going to move forward. So if you are ready to make those career shifts, if you're ready to love the life, your inside and outside of your career, and really kind of evolve into that person, that version of you that feels like a badass, this is for you. If you want to make a bigger impact in your world on your terms, so that you can choose where your energy goes, so you can choose to show up, to embrace your life, to serve, to help people, but at the end of the day, you feel great, you still have energy and capacity to give to yourself, your family, this is for you. If you're open and ready to embrace coaching, embrace the work of figuring out who you are, being vulnerable, choosing yourself again and again so that you can show up and embrace that unapologetically badass version of yourself, then this is for you. If you're ready to make yourself a priority and invest in yourself to do this work so that you can figure out who you are, acknowledge the strengths that you have, because Lord, you have a lot of them, and be a decisive person who knows exactly what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and is ready to thrive. And this is for you. I am opening up my 6-month one-on-one coaching program right now. So this is what I would love to offer you, is a free coaching consult call. So basically, my coaching program, we are going to go through this 3-step process along with giving you resiliency reserves so that you can thrive, so that you have the energy and capacity. I'm going to teach you how to regulate your nervous system so that if you're in that fight, flight, freeze mode, you can bring yourself back and step into who you are. I'm going to teach you how to rewire your brain so that you can learn how to thrive no matter what your environment is. And at the end of the 6 months, you will be in a career that you absolutely love, or have that blueprint completely laid out in the step-by-step of how you're going to get there. Because sometimes it does, if you have to go back to school or something, it takes more time, but it is going to be you really enjoying your life, really enjoying your career and the impact that you have. So this 6-month one-on-one, we meet weekly over Zoom. There's flexibility in that so that you can work a nursing schedule and still show up, get coached, take action, evaluate, and really make those moves to step into that badass version of yourself. So if this sounds like something that might be the right fit for you, if you check all of those boxes, then absolutely book a one-on-one consult call. We're going to go over these things. We're going to go over where you are now, what ideas you have for what you want for yourself, and I'm going to show you the blueprint on how you're going to get there. All right, badasses, this was so good. I would love to hear your feedback, any questions that you have. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer. I'm going to stop the record here so that you can have any coaching questions that you have. If you're watching the recording, feel free to send me a message with any questions that you have about this class or how do you book that consult call. Okay, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again soon.